Welcome back to the Off the Ball podcast. I'm your host, Clay Tillman, and on today's episode, we were going to be breaking down the Commanders versus Bengals game from Monday night, also the Jaguars versus Bills game that also happened Monday night, and then since it's Wednesday, we're going to be going through the top 5 players from each offensive position. We're going to be going through top 5 quarterbacks, top 5 running backs, and top 5 wide receivers through week 3. Let's begin with one of the more exciting games, not only from Monday night, but from the whole week in general. And that was the Commanders versus Bengals game. High-scoring game. And there were 0 punts the whole game. 0 punts. And one guy I really want to note on is the Commanders quarterback in Jayden Daniels. He's a rookie, and he's already looking like a veteran. He was 21 for 23, had only 2 incompletions the whole game. He threw for 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's already leading some quarterback stats, and he's in the top 10. He's leading the whole NFL in completion percentage. He threw for 80% in Monday night's game, is 4th in yards per attempt, is 4th in power ranking, and is 2nd in rushing yards as a QB. Behind Lamar Jackson. And Jayden Daniels is somebody I compare. Lamar Jackson is somebody I compare Jayden Daniels to. Or vice versa. Jayden Daniels, I compare him to Lamar Jackson. And the reason for that is that he's mobile. He's a mobile quarterback, and in my opinion, I love to see mobile quarterbacks in today's age. One, it's because you can get out of the pocket. For a Commanders team that doesn't have the best offensive line, Jayden Daniels fits perfectly. He's mobile, he's fast, and he can get out of the pocket when he needs to. But not only that, he has an arm. In the game, I saw him multiple times sling the ball down the field and threw absolute dots to his receivers. Terry McLaurin had 4 receptions for 100 yards and 1 touchdown. And there was a play where it was perfectly thrown to him, and it was a slinger. Jayden Daniels can do basically anything on the turf. He can throw and he can run. And he's smart. He's thrown for 0 interceptions this whole season. His touchdown to pass ratio, his touchdown to interception ratio is 5 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. And right now, through week 3, Jayden Daniels is my rookie of the year. It's because how proficient he is and how well he's able to succeed, especially for a Commanders team that hasn't had a good quarterback in a while. But Jayden Daniels is looking right now as their future and their franchise, the face of it. And right now, I think they have a potential to be a wild card this season. I think they'll be a surprise. They really will be. And I think they can sneak into the wild card. Right now, they aren't a threat at all to be a Super Bowl contender, but don't be surprised in the next upcoming years as they continue to build around Jayden Daniels and as they continue to get closer to being a potential threat in the NFC as a Super Bowl contender. Now, they have a hard division in the Eagles and in the Cowboys. Cowboys are in a slump right now, but they won't be in a slump for much longer. But the Eagles, who continue to just be a dominant force offensively, but Commanders, man, they are looking close to being a threat. Not in the NFC, but in their division to potentially get that wild card spot that I think they deserve. Because one, Jayden Daniels is their quarterback. I like him a lot. After watching him Monday night for the first time, I like him a lot. And I think he's just going to continue to do what he's doing. And he's already shown that on the turf so far, especially against the Bengals Monday night. And I read this stat from the Washington Post, and it said that there are only 16 games There's only been 16 games in the Super Bowl era in which a defense didn't force a punt or a turnover and allowed at least 5 touchdowns. Now there are 17. And I note this because the Commanders are involved with the stat. And my whole lifetime, the Commanders or the Redskins, both, haven't been an exceptional team. They really haven't. They haven't been like necessarily a joke because they've made playoffs every other few years. They made a playoff appearance every few years, but they haven't really been exceptional. They've never been a threat in my time as a fan of the NFL. And I'm watching them Monday night, and I'm like, man, this team has really turned themselves around, and they've really showed that. And I think Jayden Daniels will be a huge part of that and is a huge part of that. And I think they'll continue to prosper. And I can compare Jayden Daniels to Caleb Williams. And it's not looking good for Caleb Williams stat-wise so far. Now, I'm not saying Caleb Williams will get better because he obviously will. I think Caleb Williams is a great quarterback. Saw him in the preseason. He looked like a Patrick Mahomes. But so far through week 3, Jayden Daniels has done a much better job with a less core as his wide receivers. A less core, a less efficient core. I mean, he has Terry McLaurin, but when you look at the Bears, Keenan Allen's out, but Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. And for the Commanders, man, I just look at Terry McLaurin. I think he's an underrated receiver, and he finally has the quarterback that he needs for him to get some sort of an attention. And when I compare Caleb Williams to Jayden McDaniels, man, one team is 2-1, and one player has thrown 0 interceptions, and that's Jayden Daniels. And leads the entire NFL in completion percentage. I think he's great, and they did very well against a Bengals who is struggling, who is 0-3, and not struggling on the offensive side. I think they're great offensively, but struggling on the defensive side badly. And when we move on from this, from the Commanders, I'll give you the stat before I talk about the Bengals, is that last week the Commanders had 7 field goals. This week they're 3 for 3 from the red zone. And a lot of that, or all of that, resonates and is placed on that Bengals defense. But their offense is exceptional. Joe Burrow has been playing great, even though their defense has been really bad and has been the complete opposite of their offense. He was 29 for 38, 324 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, exceptional. 6 receptions, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. That duo is incredible. They're remarkable. But what's hurting them and what the reason they are 0-3 right now is because of their defense. Against the Commanders, they did not make a single stop. There's either a field goal or there's either a touchdown. Not a single punt forced. They allowed 5 touchdowns and one field goal in 6 possessions. And they allowed 6.3 points per drive. It's not exceptional defense. And here's the thing about the Bengals. They are a small market team. We see this with the Packers a lot, is that they focus on draft picks. It's because they can't get players in the offseason who are free agents. And they focus a lot on their draft picks. And for teams that want to succeed, you're going to focus more on your offense because that's how you get points. That's how you win. The Bengals have focused too much on their offense and have done it really well in drafting Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Franchise-type players. but they have allowed defensive players from the Bengals to go, and they have seen the aftermath and the effect of that because of their record in this season, 0-3. And they're losing to a Commanders team. And in my opinion, the Bengals are a lot better than the Commanders offensively. But when your offense is, when your defense is exceptionally bad and you're going up against a great offense in a Commanders team, it's going to be hard. Because, two offenses can keep up, but a good offense and a good defense, it won't slide. And there won't be any connection. One team's going to be better because one team's defense is just obliterately bad. They're 26th. The Bengals are 26th in scoring defense. And they are also 26th in rushing defense. And Jayden Daniels, a mobile quarterback, he's going to run all over that. And in scoring defense, you saw it in Monday night's game, they scored 38 points on the Bengals. 38 points. So the Bengals are going to have to figure some things out defensively. I think they will. I don't think they'll win their division, obviously, but I think they can make a wild card spot. They're just going to have to figure things out on that secondary. Their offense is completely fine, but that secondary is hurting them a lot. Let's move on with the Jaguars versus Bills game. And I want to hit on the Jaguars first because I think the Bills are doing something great that we haven't seen in a while. Trevor Lawrence has been, in my opinion, he has not lived up. I'm not going to call him a bust because I don't think he's a bust, but he has not lived up to that first overall pick. He has not lived up to that standard. And it's because he is a very inconsistent player. He's very interception prone. And we've seen this through his whole career. In his rookie season, he led the league in interceptions with 17, but last season he threw 21 touchdowns on 14 interceptions. In his best season was his second season where he threw 25 touchdowns on 8 interceptions. But this season, he's only thrown 2 touchdowns, and he has 1 interception. And I want to hit on this is because, man, I used to think when in the second season of Trevor Lawrence's career, I was like, man, this guy's going to be something good. The Jaguars are looking like a threat, and now it's almost like, man, they really couldn't keep up. They had the division. They really did, and they couldn't keep up. It's because, one, the Texans really did their thing last season, so now they move up to the ultimate threat in their division. And the Titans and the Colts and the Jaguars are just epitome. And I couldn't even tell you who the second best team in their division is. I mean, it's probably the Colts, but it could be the Jaguars or it could be the Titans. But 2 of those teams, and the Jaguars and the Titans, are winless this season. And it's just the Texans are going to blow that in them out of the water. I don't see the Texans losing a single game to either the Colts, the Texans, or the Jaguars. I don't see it. And I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a threat to that division either. One, I think there's 32 quarterbacks, 32 starting quarterbacks. I think he lands number 16. I think he's just straight in the middle. It's because, one, he's interception prone. 2, I don't think he's very consistent. I think he can be inconsistent for most of the time, and he just isn't the best decision maker. But they went up against a great team in the Buffalo Bills, who, in my opinion, are legitimate threats to win a Super Bowl this season. And we say this every year, man. They're probably going to go to the playoffs and lose to the Chiefs like they've done the past few years. But this year, no more Stephon Diggs, no more controversy, and Josh Allen can actually play to the best of his ability. One, he doesn't have the best core, but we're not even at first you might be worried about that, man. They don't have Stephon Diggs. I mean, he doesn't have Stephon Diggs. Man, they're not going to be good this year. That's what I thought. Until I see how well he's performed without Stephon Diggs. And I think the reason for that is, one, there's no controversy between him and between Stephon Diggs and the team, and between him and Josh Allen. But Josh Allen can just thrive. He's mobile. He's a mobile quarterback. He's athletic. And he can get his targets wide open. I think he's just a great quarterback. And right now, I have him for MVP. One, he's doing it with little weapons. He's doing it with little weapons. And we've seen this with Aaron Rodgers. I compare Josh Allen to an Aaron Rodgers because we saw this with Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers was able to do it without very little weapons. So is Josh Allen this season. 2, he's very accurate this season. He's been very accurate. 1, last season he threw for 18 interceptions. 2, this season he's thrown 7 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. And they're undefeated. And I think there will be a legitimate threat this season, because I think Josh Allen will continue to thrive under the core that he has, who are succeeding at a high level. They have James Cook, who's a great runner, and they have a really good defense in Von Miller and the rest of their squad. And he has shown that he is able to do it without the Tyreek Hill, without the Stephon Diggs, without the powerhouse offense. But he's able to do it through the air and on his legs. And they are able to succeed. And that's why they're 3-0. And that's why I think he will have a potential to win MVP this season. And I'm excited to continue to see their success and what they have to bring. But they are fun to watch as well. And they absolutely destroyed the Jaguars 47-10. They put a beat down. So Jaguars have a lot of things to clean up offensively. And Trevor Lawrence, man, he may not be the answer. I think he'll be there for a couple more years, but if he can't get them to a playoff spot and actually move up into the divisional round or possibly an AFC championship, they may have to move on, because I think his inconsistency is really hurting them. And we saw this from day one. In his rookie season. And I know Peyton Manning, when he was a rookie, he was awful. He really was. But he progressed like an absolute, like one of the best of all time. I mean, he progressed to be one of the best of all times. So Trevor Lawrence has potential to do that, but he's in his 4th season. And he's made very little progression since his 2nd season. He's gotten worse, and his stats prove that. Let's move on to the top 5 positions through week 3. And have a lot of changes. We're going to start with quarterback, and I'm going to start with number 5. Number 5, last week I had Sam Darnold. He snuck in, and it's surprising to say that, but man, he's continued to succeed, and he's led his team to a 3-0 record, which me and a lot of the other NFL fans didn't believe it would happen. I thought they would have a ceiling of like 5-4 wins, and they're undefeated, 3-0. But number 5, I have Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy, even though they have been losing, he's been the most consistent player on that team and in the NFL in general. He's 2nd in passing yards for 842 of them. He's tied 10th for passing touchdowns with 4 of them. He's 7th in completion percentage, throwing 72.6%. And he's 2nd in yards per attempt on 6.9 yards. He's 6th in power ranking. I just think his consistency and the fact that he's Mr. Irrelevant has carried him to be such a valuable player. And his valuable reaches the absolute ceiling. And he made the Super Bowl. I know he's losing right now. They didn't have Deebo Samuel. George Kittle. Overall tight ends this season haven't even been really exciting. The leading receiver in tight ends is Brock Bowers right now. And it's just like, where's Travis Kelce? Where's George Kittle? And it's really been a slow start for tight ends. But moving back to Brock Purdy, I just think his consistency with the way he's been able to use Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's looking like a like himself when he led the league in receiving yards. And he's Jordan Mason coming in for Christian McCaffrey. I know that's not Brock Purdy's job, but he's making his team look good. Not even using George Kittle as much or Brandon Ayuk, but he's able to do it consistently. And he moves up to the top 5 because he's so high up in passing yards, and his completion rating or completion percentage is very, very good. At number 4, Sam Darnold moves up. Right now, he's 1st in passing touchdowns with 8 of them, and he's 2nd in passer rating on 117.3 passer rating. Unbelievable start for Sam Darnold. I noted this last week when Sam Darnold, he's been historically a very bad quarterback. He's been in the bottom 5 his whole career. And he finally gets some recognition. And I've said this multiple times. 1, it's because of his coaching staff. 2, he has the core he needs for him to succeed. Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the league, if not the best wide receiver right now. And we're able to see Sam Darnold thrive. And he's a backup. J.J. McCarthy was supposed to start over him. And Sam Darnold's already 4th. And he's top 5, in my opinion, right now for MVP. It's crazy to think that someone like Sam Darnold is able to thrive. And that's what gives me hope for like someone like Bryce Young, who just hasn't performed well in Carolina. He just doesn't fit well with them. I talked about that on Monday. So if Bryce Young can go to a new team and succeed well, man, I think he'd be great. He's the 1st overall pick. I think he'd be great if he went to a good squad. Someone like Sam Darnold, historically bad. Jets, he just wasn't good. Goes to a team with someone like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, and a good coaching staff. Yes, Sam Darnold's succeeding there. And he's able to because the people around him are helping him and giving him some leverage. Number 3, I moved Baker Mayfield down. I put him at 3. Right now, he's 4th in completion percentage at 74.4%. He's 9th in yards per attempt, 7.8 of them. 5th in power and in passer rating, 110.7. And 7th in rushing touchdowns. He has 1 of them. I think he just has a home in Tampa Bay, and he's proved that. He's shown that. Last week they lost. But the first 2 weeks, man, he's made Chris Godwin look like a top 5 receiver. He can, Mike Evans consistently his whole career has been great. He's just thrived under Tampa Bay's organization. And last year he got his first Pro Bowl. This season he could do it again, and he could win his division. I think they're doing great, and I think their division is very difficult. I thought the Falcons were going to blow that entire division out of the water, but man, you got the Saints, you got Tampa Bay, and then the Falcons. Carolina, after their win, maybe Andy Dalton can turn them around, but Tampa Bay is thriving and they're thriving well because Baker Mayfield is their quarterback, and he's doing an excellent job in Tampa Bay. Number 2, I move C.J. Stroud to number 2. He's 9th in passing yards with 709 yards, and he's tied 10th in passing touchdowns, has 4 of them. I think the overall ability and the way C.J. Stroud plays, he's an MVP candidate. He's going to lead his team to a winning division, and he's just turned the whole team around. And this season, he's done it very, very well. Got Stephon Diggs. He loves it there. Nico Collins leading the NFL in reception yards. And just their whole coaching staff, and DeMeco Ryan, who I think is an excellent coach, could potentially win Coach of the Year. I just think he's done a great job, C.J. Stroud, and I think he'll continue to be on this top 5 list. And number 1, I put Josh Allen. He's second in passing he's second in passing yards. He's first in passer rating, 133.7. Sam Darnold is second in passer rating with 117.3. And Josh Allen is very close. Is pretty close to a perfect passer rating. He's just done an excellent job. It's because of his turnover ratio. It's a donut. It's 0. And he's second in completion percentage, which is very good. And he's third in yards per attempt, 8.8. He's winning. He's accurate this season. Hasn't thrown an interception. He's able to win, and he's able to do that under a very little and solid wide receiver core. And that's why I put him at number 1. We'll see what happens next week. Let's move on to running backs. Number 5, I take Bijan out of the top 5 just because of his performance on Sunday, 1.9 yards per carry. It's not his fault entirely, but I'm going to move him out just for this week. But number 5, I put Derrick Henry, 5th in rushing yards, 281 of them. First in rushing touchdowns, has 4, leading the whole NFL in rushing touchdowns. 5th in rushing attempts, 56 attempts, and 8th in scrimmage yards, 316. And one of my first podcasts of the season, I was reacting to the Ravens game versus Chiefs, and I was talking about Derrick Henry, and I was saying they're going to use him differently this season. 1, he's going to be a touchdown machine. And he's already leading the whole NFL in touchdowns. 2, he's not going to be much of a yards guy, but he had an exceptional game. He had over 150 yards rushing on 25 attempts in the other day. And dude, this guy, I think he could potentially be better on the Ravens than he was as a Titan. He's getting older, so maybe not, but dude, he's going to be a touchdown machine. He's going to consistently be it. He had 2 touchdowns on Sunday, and he's going to consistently be a touchdown machine. And he's just going to continue to rise on rushing yards. I don't think he will stay in the top 5, maybe, but I'm really hitting on him just being that touchdown guy for the Baltimore Ravens, just because Lamar Jackson is their running back, and I put that in quotes because he's not an official running back, but he's the guy that's going to give them the yards, and I think he'll give them the more yards and more consistent yards than Derrick Henry will, because Derrick Henry is getting into his older stage of football, but they're just going to hand it to him when they're within 5 yards, because he's a truck. He's an absolute bulldozer, and he will give you touchdowns, and he'll do it for the remainder of the season. So I have him at number 5. Number 4 is J.K. Dobbins. He's done an exceptional job for the Chargers. He's 3rd in rushing yards, has a 310 yards rushing, tied 10th in rushing touchdowns, 2 of them. 1st in yards per attempt, 7.4 yards. 1st in yards after after contact, 187, and 5th in scrimmage yards. And I want to hit on his yards per attempt. He's averaging 7.4 yards attempt. That's in two runs, he's getting a first down. That's almost every run he gets a first down. He's doing an exceptional job in that department. And same with rushing yards. Third, I think he's a big part of this Chargers offense. And Justin Herbert, they don't have a great wide receiver core or offensive core. They really just hit on Justin Herbert being how consistent he is and how great of a quarterback he is as well. But then they get their running in, and I think they really needed a guy like J.K. Dobbins who can run for them because they haven't had an exceptional runner in a long time. And I think J.K. Dobbins is their guy to do so. So I have him at number 4. Number 3, I have Jordan Mason. He's just consistently been good. 2nd in rushing yards, 324. Tied 10th in rushing touchdowns, 2 of them. 1st in rushing attempts, 67 attempts. 2nd in yards after contact, and 3rd in scrimmage yards. He has definitely taken the praise for Christian McCaffrey, and he's taken it very well. I think the fans love Jordan Mason. Since Christian McCaffrey has been on IR, he has leveled up, and it's like his 4th or 5th season in the league. Has yet to be some sort of Pro Bowler or some sort of award winner, and he's shown it so far through week 3. One, I didn't even know who this guy was until week 1, where he led the whole league in rushing. And right now, he's 2nd. He's still 2nd. So week 1 wasn't a fluke. It wasn't phony. This guy is still consistently being good. And he's in a lot of the top rushing yard categories. And I think he'll consistently do that until Christian McCaffrey comes back. But he's done an exceptional job for them, and he's a reason they have succeeded so far. Number 2, I move Alvin Kamara to the 2nd spot. He's 4th right now in rushing yards, 285 rushing yards. 2nd in rushing touchdowns, 4 of them. 4th in rushing attempts, 61 rushing attempts. 1st in scrimmage yards, 8th in receptions, has 10 of them. And 2nd in receiving yards, 132. This guy's like Christian McCaffrey. 1, he's a touchdown machine as well, like Derrick Henry. 2, he can receive the ball. He's positionless. Give this guy the ball because he'll give you yards. He's valuable. He's the most valuable guy on their team right now. Derek Carr, yes, he's a good quarterback, but man, where's Michael Thomas been? They just haven't been a consistent team, and Alvin Kamara has given them some sort of value, and he has given himself a lot of value for that organization just because how well he's been and how well he has stayed up on the top receiving categories, like 4th in almost everything, 1st in scrimmage yards. He's a great receiver, and he's a great runner. We've seen this his whole career, and he's consistently doing this, even though he's getting older-ish. And number 1, I have Saquon Barkley. I think he's just the best. He's the best running back in the league, and he's really helped out the Philadelphia Eagles. He's 1st in rushing yards, 331 rushing yards. 3rd in rushing touchdowns, 4 of them. 2nd in rushing attempts, 63. 53 in yards per attempt, 5.6 yards per attempt. 2nd in scrimmage yards, 9th in receptions, 10 of them. And 4th in receiving touchdowns. He is everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. He has made this team, he made the Giants who they are, and he has just created this team into an absolute powerhouse. He will thrive in the playoffs. He really will, because he's just a fast and quick dude. He's able to get through a defensive line, and he's ranking the only category he's not top 5 in is receptions. And he's a running back. So that doesn't even really matter. He's top 5 in everything. And he makes the Eagles just 10 times better. They had DeAndre Swift last season, but they just get a absolute stud in Saquon Barkley and just makes the team a lot better. And it really shuts off the coaching staff, in my opinions about them. And Jalen Hurts, it shuts off his inconsistency. Because once you hand it off to Saquon Barkley, that guy is going to be doing things. And he's going to make your team better. He did it with New York, and he will do it with the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's move on to wide receivers. Now, I don't have the category stats for them, but I have ranked them. Chris Godwin moves to 5th. I think he's just been consistent. But with the guys that I have above him, I just think they've been a little bit more valuable and have really shown that they deserve to be higher. Like number 4, Malik Neighbors, rookie. He's already 4th on my list. He's so valuable for it. He's like a Saquon Barkley, but on the receiving end. He's helping the New York Giants a lot. He's already looking like a star. And he's making Daniel Jones succeed. Don't think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback at all. But if you have Malik Neighbors and you continue to build around Malik Neighbors, you will have a somewhat reputable quarterback. It's like, let me try to put it in perspective. It's like Sam Darnold. Man, you put him with Justin Jefferson, yeah, he's going to succeed. And you put Malik Neighbors with someone like Daniel Jones, yeah, they're going to succeed to an extent. Now, the New York Giants aren't good in any circumstance, but Malik Neighbors has shown that he is a star, and I think he'll be a Pro Bowler his rookie season. I think he's doing great things. Number 3 is Rashee Rice. Now, I think, in my opinion, he has moved up to wide receiver 1 for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's usually somebody. It was Tyreek Hill. They moved on from him. It was Travis Kelce. He's in some sort of slump. Don't know what's going on there. But they get a guy named Rashee Rice. 2nd season. And he's playing like a star. He's quick. He's young. And he's able to route run. And I think he's just been doing so good for the Kansas City Chiefs this season. And he has shown his value. And he will continue to show his value. And I think he's a really big reason they are 3-0 right now. Because they need him. Because one, Travis Kelce's not doing much. So if it's not Travis Kelce, who's going to step up? I can't name one. Except for Rashee Rice, who has definitely stepped up. And has definitely proven himself. Proven to others that he's a star. Number 2 is Nico Collins. Ranks 1 in receiving yards. And he's done it since week 1. And that's why I put him mainly at number 2 or in the top 5. Just because, I mean, he's not the most exciting wide receiver, but he's getting open and he's able to get those receiving yards. And that's why I put him at number 2. And the main reason is that because if it wasn't for CJ Stroud, I don't think Nico Collins would be on the list. Because CJ Stroud is making him valuable. Number 1 is Justin Jefferson. And I like to hit on bad quarterbacks who are succeeding because of wide receivers, and this is why. It's because Justin Jefferson is making Sam Darnold look like an MVP. And he's done it his whole career, and he's doing it again. He's able to get down the field. He's able to beat his opponent, and he's able to do it at a consistent pace. And he's helping his team win. If not, he is the reason his team's winning and undefeated. And him and Sam Darnold are getting along very well. I don't think Sam Darnold will be their quarterback for the remaining of the tenure of J.J. McCarthy as a Viking, just because they drafted J.J. McCarthy for a reason, to be their starting quarterback. But Sam Darnold has prospered under Justin Jefferson and has made him look like, and Justin Jefferson has made Sam Darnold look like an absolute star and an MVP. But that is my list for the top 5 positions on offense. And that is the end of the podcast. I hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all did, please follow my Instagram, Off the Ball Podcast. I gained some new followers over the past couple days, and I'm just really enjoying that y'all are listening to my content. Also, follow my main Instagram, Clay Tillman. Follow my TikTok, Off the Ball Podcast. Follow my Twitter, Clay Tillman, and follow all of my other socials. Hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, give me a rating, and I'll see y'all next time. Hopefully, probably not this Friday. I will be busy, but I'll see you on Monday for week 4 of the NFL. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.